So welcome to another one of our weekly group calls. Last week we obviously did a kind of big sort of 2026 mindset, goal setting sort of call, and also quite a big week in terms of that as well. All of you guys last week we set some goals for you for the next coming few weeks ahead. I want to talk more on nutrition today. Kind of going back to basics a bit, really. Not saying basic in like everyone should know this and it's super easy, but I do think it's really good to go over like the foundations of the knowledge of what we're doing inside this program. And as you guys know, nutrition is such a massive part of what we're doing. It's huge, particularly those of you that are on a fat loss journey at the moment and your goal is getting below 100. Nutrition is honestly like 80% of it. So we're going to talk today about macros. This might be a word you guys are very familiar with if you've been in the program for a while. A lot of you I know are quite new to the program, have only been in here for a couple of weeks. So you might even not know what that word means. But don't worry, we're going to go through what macros are, understanding macros, and talking about why they matter, and why me and Adam are getting you to focus on them and what the reason for that is, essentially. And I want you guys to come away from the school feeling like you've got a really good foundation of knowledge and you understand exactly why we're doing this inside the program. And you can have this as knowledge to take forwards in the rest of this program and then the rest of your life as well, because knowledge is power. So, first of all, what actually are macros? Macros is a shorter way of saying macronutrients. You have micronutrients and macronutrients. So they are what make up the calories in your food, basically. The three main macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats. Obviously, I know that you guys all know what they are. I'm not going to pretend that you guys don't know what they are. So if they're macronutrients, micronutrients are essentially your vitamins and minerals that you get in your diet as well. And that comes, obviously, we know largely from fruits, veg, all that sort of stuff. And they're mainly like the vitamins. But we're talking just about macronutrients today. So there's three main ones. The calories overall obviously tell us how much energy we're eating, how much we're consuming, but the macros tell us where those calories are coming from. Now, what I want to make really clear at the start of this call, particularly for those of you that are quite new to the program, you do not have to obsess over all three. You do not have to obsess over your protein, your carbs, and your fats. You don't have to get every single gram of it perfectly correct every single day. You just need to understand their role. And I think sometimes once we really know why we're doing something, we know why it's important. And like when you guys know for exactly why I am getting you guys to focus on calorie counting and macros, I think sometimes knowing it automatically helps us to really see the value in it and find it a little bit easier. And also give you guys the knowledge that you need to know exactly why we're doing what we're doing as well. So to make it clear, you don't have to suddenly obsess over all three of these after the call. It's just giving you education and giving you awareness and understanding why they are important. So why are we talking about this? We're talking about calories and macros because knowledge gives you power and knowledge gives you control. Confusion, on the other hand, keeps people stuck. Now, I know that a lot of you guys before joining this program felt very confused by nutrition, myself included as well. Like before I became a coach, I was totally baffled by dieting, by calorie deficit, by protein and calories and macros. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how to track it. I didn't even understand why they were so important. And that's deliberately designed in a certain way in the diet industry, particularly. I think that obviously I'm someone that's within the fitness industry. I think the fitness industry overall is a force for good, but I do think there are some things that the fitness industry needs to be held accountable for. And one thing that I think the diet industry in particularly does, which I do not agree with, is that they deliberately keep you confused about this. They deliberately want you to feel like nutrition is so complicated, so hard to understand, and so unbelievably complex that you buy their magic weight loss powder, product, tablet, whatever it is that they are pushing and want you to buy. It's deliberately designed to be confusing, so you stay confused and you pour your money into their products. And as a result of that, consistent guessing just leads to inconsistency and no results as well. I want to flip that today, and have you guys not feeling confused about nutrition, but actually show you that in reality, the theory of it and the process of it is quite simple. And this is not about restriction either. You guys will know whether you've been in this program for not for very long or you haven't in it for a long time. Like I am very anti-restriction. Of course, when you're wanting to lose weight, particularly and you're in a calorie deficit, there has to be an element of restriction. A deficit in itself, at face value, is an element of restriction because you are placing yourself into an energy deficit. You are eating a little bit less than what you are burning. Um, But this whole process is not about teaching you restriction and not giving you a restrictive diet. It's actually about understanding how your body works so that fat loss or maintenance or even a calorie surplus, gaining weight, can feel a lot simpler and not harder. That's what I want to get really clear to you guys and do my bit on my little corner of the fitness industry, my little corner of the internet, that actually it doesn't have to be confusing and you're deliberately wanted and they want you to feel confused. So it's okay if you do ever or have ever felt confused about this. First of all, though, I want to go through some kind of common myths and some objections to macro counting, and as a result, tracking your food, tracking your calories. So the first thing is that I hear a lot of people say tracking is restrictive. I often think that this comes from people that have tried calorie counting maybe in the past, but not actually been shown how to do it in an effective way and not been shown how to do it in a very healthy way. So as a result, it feels restrictive because essentially they didn't follow the right protocol. And that's through no fault of their own, because like I said, you guys are deliberately made to feel confused and made to feel like it is horrible so that you buy people's products. But restriction is just rules that you don't choose. Tracking actually doesn't create restriction. It creates education, it creates knowledge. That knowledge then turns into power. Tracking your calories and your macros is actually a complete tool of empowerment and is going to be the fastest thing to get you guys to all of your goals. So I want to flip that on its head. And it's awareness so that you stay in total control of your food. When tracking is done correctly with guidance and you're shown the way to do it in a healthy and sustainable way, it is awareness so that you feel like you are totally in control of your food, your hunger, your cravings, and that is a really empowering thing, and that's not a restrictive thing. Second thing I hear a lot is, I don't want to weigh food forever. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to weigh my food forever as well. But the good news is that you won't weigh it forever. It's just whilst you're in this way of working, whilst you guys are actively trying to lose fat, it's the fastest and most effective way to get you there. But tracking is a learning phase and it's not a life sentence. You are now not expected to track every single day for the rest of your life. However, it is probably the most important thing that's going to push you to 100 kilos and beyond, or whatever your goal is. It is the biggest part of it, and therefore it does need to be done. But it's not forever, and I want to make that really clear. Once you get to your goal weight, things shift. We go into a different phase of working, and once you're at your goal weight really comfortably, you don't have to track forever, but it's what needs to be done now. The other thing I hear is like, this feels really overwhelming. It's only overwhelming if you're putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself, I think, and you think you need to do it completely perfectly. What we'll talk about a bit more on this call is what we want to focus on first of all is your calorie target and your protein target. The rest can have a little bit more flexibility. But I think a lot of overwhelm comes from not having an easy structure to follow, not meal prepping, but also just thinking that you have to do absolutely everything completely perfectly. And if you have one day but you don't quite hit your protein goal, or you have one day where you don't quite hit your fat goal, everything's ruined. It's not the case at all. And perfection is not needed, especially with this. Next thing, I've tried this before and failed. This ties into what I said at the start. Like, I hear a lot of people say this. Unfortunately, they've either been part of some sort of program, whether it's to do with maybe like, I don't know, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, or even it's like another coaching program where it has been very restrictive. But I think what has caused the failure before in tracking was either being way too extreme with it or just not having enough support. The biggest part of what we always do in this program with you guys, and I'm sure you can feel it, is like, yes, of course, we give you a calorie goal, we give you workouts, we help you with that. But the biggest thing that you guys have is support and accountability, and that is the biggest part of the journey. So oftentimes I think that if people feel like I've tried before and I've failed, it's just because they haven't had the right support system and they haven't had enough support. So the good news is that for all of you guys, that now changes. The final couple of things is I'm scared that I'll become obsessed. Is what I hear from people as well. Understanding your food actually reduces anxiety and it doesn't increase it. Like I've been saying a couple of times throughout this call, I'll try not to repeat myself too much, but knowledge really is power. Once you have complete control of your food, you know exactly how much you're eating, you know for sure that you're in a deficit, it actually becomes a very incredibly empowering thing and it's not restrictive. It's teaching you the baseline levels of education around nutrition that you guys all need and that you can take forward to the rest of your life. So, if you're worried about becoming obsessed, I would flip that on its head and actually challenge that and say, this is going to reduce your anxiety around it and it's not going to increase it. But this isn't a rule book as well. Like I said, like, I'm not here to give you crazy restriction, to impose insane restrictive rules on you. It's a tool instead. It's not a rule book and it's not something that has to be followed exactly to the T in order for you to get an incredible transformation. So the big picture, first of all, like, calories come first. Your calorie target, which obviously every single one of you ladies and guys have in the program, calories do come first, and your calories are the foundation. In very simple terms, fat loss is being in a calorie deficit. So, like I said, burning slightly more energy than what you are eating. Maintenance, on the other hand, some of you guys aren't in a fat loss phase at the moment. You're in a bit of a different way at working. It's eating at maintenance calories. So your energy balance, how much you're eating versus how much energy you're burning on a daily basis, is the same. So you maintain the weight that you're at. Um, on the flip side, calorie deficit is a bit different. So if there's no calorie deficit, there is no fat loss. That is like just the basic kind of principle of thermodynamics. If the weight hasn't moved before, if the weight isn't moving, if it hasn't moved in the past, in essence, unless you have a health complication or a condition that makes it a bit more challenging for you, it's just the fact that you're not in a deficit with your energy. No awareness of that equals no consistency. But this doesn't mean that because you've now got a calorie goal, you're doing insanely strict dieting and having to follow anything really crazy. It's just knowing your baseline, knowing how much you can eat in a day in accordance with your goals so that you can make informed choices. Let's talk about protein as well. Protein matters most for fat loss. But what I also don't want to give the impression of is that protein is the only macronutrient you should be focusing on. That's not what I'm saying. We'll talk about that more in a second. But for fat loss, on paper, without taking anything else into account, protein is going to be the biggest priority for you and the biggest macro that you do want to focus on. That is because it helps you preserve muscle while you're losing fat. It helps you to feel fuller for longer, which is wonderful when you are in a calorie deficit. It reduces cravings, which is also wonderful. And it improves your body composition as well. So, as well as building muscle, building more muscle helps you to burn fat faster and more efficiently as well. That's why you guys have a high protein goal, because you guys that are on a journey of weight loss, it is the best way and the easiest way to make sure that you're not feeling too hungry, you're not having insane cravings, you don't have loads of food noise, but you're also burning fat and not shedding muscle tissue. If your calories and your protein are on point, if you're hitting your calorie goal daily, and if you're hitting your protein goal pretty much bang on, again, you don't have to be totally perfect, but if you're very near there, fat loss actually becomes so much easier and it becomes far more manageable. So this is why protein is a priority for everyone here, no matter what your goal is. It's especially important if you're over 100 kilos, aiming to get below. If you're maybe just under 100 kilos now, but you're still pushing for fat loss, if you're in a calorie deficit, and if you're in maintenance, if you're wanting to maintain, build muscle and build strength, protein is very important for all of that because it supports fat loss and it supports muscle building at the same time. So that is why, no matter who you are, no matter what your goal is, that's why protein is super, super important if you're someone that's training and going into the gym and looking after your health regularly. It's very important. Well, what about carbs and fats? So I said to you, for fat loss, carbs and fats, protein, sorry, is the most important macro. But there is a slight caveat to that. That doesn't mean that I do not want you guys to not think about how many carbs and fats you're eating. So carbs and fats, they provide us with energy. Carbs especially, they are our body's main source of energy. Fats as well, but carbs is like the thing that we use first. It's also really great for our brain health and making sure our brains are like functioning properly. For fats especially, they really support hormones and they support your health. It does that for men, obviously, but it's especially important for women as well. Like it's really crucial that we're getting a good amount of fats into our diet to regulate our hormones. It also makes sure that we absorb all the vitamins and minerals that we're eating. So you could eat all the veg in the world, but if you're having zero fats in your diet, it's going to be very hard for your body to absorb vitamins. So that's why they're also important. Therefore, I'm telling you that yes, protein is the one, probably out of all the three goals that you have, it's the one that you want to hit really consistently. That does not mean that you shouldn't care about your carbs and your fats. You definitely should care about and making sure that you're getting carbs and fats into your diet regularly. It's just that you don't have to be so granular and you don't have to be so precise about hitting the targets that you guys have on Everfit. Don't worry too much about that. Like if you've got targets at the moment and your carbs read slightly higher than your fats, or vice versa, your fats are slightly higher than your carbs. If you're hitting your protein, you're hitting your calories, it's really not the end of the world as long as you're including both. So that gives you a little bit more freedom there. But for fat loss, hitting exact numbers matters less than hitting your calories and hitting your protein with your carbs and your fats, like I've said. You can definitely be slightly more flexible, and that's where more food freedom comes in. But both and all three of them are still very crucial in our diet for overall health. But this is why we don't want to overcomplicate this. So you do not need to hit perfect macro ratios every day. You do not need to cut out any of the foods that you enjoy. And you also do not need to track forever. However, what you do need to do and what you really will learn and need to learn in this process, learn what your portions look like. You need to understand your food intake and understand how many calories you're consuming on a daily basis so that you can make sure for a fact that you're in an energy deficit. You want to build awareness around that, and you do want to make hitting your calories, going for your macros, hitting your protein. You do want to make it a priority because, like I said, when it comes to fat loss, especially, it is the biggest thing that pushes the needle forwards. And you do want to remain diligent with tracking your food as well, with tracking your calories, because we need to know exactly how much you're eating so we know for a fact that you're in a deficit and you're going to lose weight every week. So here's some examples of what this kind of looks like in real life when you're like building out your meals and stuff. So obviously this isn't an exhaustive list. This is just a few quick things that I've put together, but good protein sources. Animal products, chicken, turkey, lean beef, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fish, particularly salmon, tuna. They are super high in protein and quite lean, so they're good things to include. I am plant-based, for those of you that might not know that. I'm sure a lot of you do know that. I'm vegan, so is Adam. Um, you do not have to be vegan to be on this program, obviously. But some examples for those of you like myself that also don't eat animal products. Really good sources are tofu, tempeh, protein powders, whether that's whey protein or vegan protein, seitan, and then any kind of beans, pulses, and legumes. That's meant to say that's a typo there, sorry. Those are all really amazing sources of protein. Like I said, not exhaustive, but some really good examples. An example of a balanced meal and what you guys really want to think about is first of all picking your protein source for your meal, particularly if fat loss is the goal for you at the moment. When you're building a meal, think about what you're going to prep or what you're going to eat. Decide what your protein source is going to be first of all, because then you'll know for a fact that all of your meals are going to include it. You then want to add a carb source. That could be rice, potatoes, bread, pasta, fruit. It could be anything. They all contain good amount of carbs. And you also want to make sure that you're including a fat source on your plate as well. Whether that is nuts, avocados, olive oil, any kind of seeds like hemp seeds, chia seeds, all that sort of stuff. They're all really great sources of fats as well, healthy fats. And then on top of your plate, you just want to add veg and fruit for volume, particularly when you're in deficit. Fruit and veg is super low calorie, packed with nutrients. So you can use that to pile on top of your plate so that you still feel like you're having big ass portions when you're dieting, but still losing weight every week. And it's in a way sort of like tricking your mind that you're still having like really big portions of food because you're piling it on with fruit and veg. So that's also a really good thing to think about as well. There's no such thing as good or bad foods at all. It's just about giving you awareness and giving you balance. I want to talk to you guys as well about my philosophy and what I think as a coach and why I also do not believe in meal plans, not for any of the people that I work with. The reason why I will never prescribe a meal plan for any of you guys and why I never have is my honest stance on it is that because I think that meal plans fix things short term, but they don't fix things in the long term. I think that they very easily become extremely boring and repetitive for you. So as a result, sticking to them and the adherence to them isn't that great. I do think they're quite restrictive. They are unrealistic for when you have social events, like the amount of you guys that have busy careers, you want to go out and enjoy your life, you've got children. If you're just sticking to a strict meal plan and only eating chicken, broccoli, and rice, it gives you zero flexibility or zero fun. And I think that regardless of what your goal is, you should enjoy your food and you should enjoy your life as well. It's unsustainable long term. I kind of see it as like putting a plaster over a crack in the ceiling. Like you've got a leak in the ceiling and you're just putting a plaster over it. Short term, it will cover you fine. But long term, it will do nothing for you because it doesn't give you any education and it doesn't teach self-sufficiency, which I want all of you guys to have as well. I don't want you to feel like you can't think on your own. You can't build meals on your own. When the meal plan stops, so many people just feel totally lost. They might have an incredibly successful journey inside a program and lose loads of weight, but as soon as they stop that, the weight just comes back on because they're off of a meal plan and they haven't got the tools and they haven't got the education. So that is why you will never get a meal plan from me. But what I will give you, and my promise to you instead, is that I will give you education and I will give you tools around nutrition that is easy to follow, sustainable, no bullshit, doesn't overcomplicate things, and they are skills that you can transfer and take forward with you for the rest of your life. That is my promise to you instead of just giving you a boring meal plan that only fixes things for the short term. What we teach instead, We teach skills, not rules. And that is so that you can eat out without panic. You can adjust your meals based on real life when stuff happens. You can make choices with your food confidently. You can stay really consistent and get an amazing transformation without having to be so rigid. And so that you know exactly how to create balanced meals yourself. Like I said, you can have skills that you take for life. This builds independence. It does not build dependence or codependency, which is not what I want for any of you guys that join. Just quickly talking about fat loss versus maintenance as well. So, if your goal is fat loss, your calories are going to be slightly lower than what you're burning on a daily basis, and your protein is going to stay high. But if your goal is maintenance, your calories are going to stay a bit higher. They're going to be around a higher mark so that you're maintaining the weight that you're at, but your protein still stays high so that you basically can still burn fat and build muscle at the same time. It's just the fat loss process isn't quite as drastic as if you were to be in a deficit. Different goals, but same principles. The aim for all of you is once every single one of you guys gets to your target weight, you're at a place where you feel really happy, really healthy, really confident. We transition you into maintenance and get you to reduce your tracking so that you can feel like no matter what life throws at you, you can stay confidently and happily at the new weight that you're at and give you the education around that as well. And that is my goal for every single one of you guys and for Adam as well. That's his goal. So, how this actually looks in real life as well, like this approach, rather than giving you meal plans, instead focusing on calorie counting and macros and education, that allows you to have meals out, allows you to go to social events. It gives you flexible food choices when something comes up and things don't quite go perfectly because life happens. Gives you adjustments when life is really busy. It allows for like if you guys have kids and you're not just thinking about meals for yourself as well, you're thinking of meals for your whole family. It gives you that flexibility as well. And it actually means that you enjoy your life still because you don't have a boring meal plan to stick to. And like I've said, take your goals seriously in this program and like all of these goals really matter to you, but enjoying your life also matters. And you need to know how to have that flexibility so that you can do both. You can get a great result, you can look after your health, but you don't have to miss out on stuff and you don't have to miss out on life while you're doing it. It's not about being perfect, it's just about being consistent enough. This is kind of becoming my catchphrase at this point. I'm always like consistency over perfection, but the reason why I say it so much is because it is so true. You guys do not have to be perfect in this journey, and I do not expect that from you as well, because that would be hypocritical of me, because I'm never perfect in my journey. Like I slip up, I make mistakes, stuff happens. So you do not have to be perfect to get a result here. You just have to be as consistent as you can, just show up every day and try your hardest. So, how to get started with this? We've talked about, why we need to focus on this, why we focus on it, and why it's so important for you guys. But now it's about taking this knowledge that I've given you on macros and actually getting started with it. So, some simple steps for you guys to take forward. So, the first step is knowing your calorie target. Good news for you guys, we do that for you. We calculate it all for you one by one. So, you've got that on Everfit. So, you've got that. That's perfect. Next step is to start prioritizing your protein when building your meals, especially if you're someone that finds hitting your protein goal quite challenging. Just having this mindset shift and thinking, rather than thinking of, oh, I'm just going to make some sort of pasta thing for dinner, instead being like, okay, I'm going to pick the protein first and they'll build the pasta dish, for example, around it, making that little mindset shift. Don't stress your carbs and your fat targets. Do include them with your meals. Like I've said, they still matter. I'm not going to pretend they're not important. They are important for our health, but don't stress about hitting your targets perfectly. It does not matter too much. Track to learn and not to judge. If you start tracking, particularly if you guys are new to the program, I'm speaking to you guys here. If you're tracking this week, getting to grips with things, things maybe feel like slightly scary, slightly overwhelming. Do not judge what's happening. Do not judge what's coming up. Awareness comes with time and education comes with time as well. So you're tracking to learn. So don't worry about getting everything perfectly straight away. Like you're going to make mistakes and that's totally fine. And the next thing that you need to do is just adjust with support when needed. And that's where Adam and I come in. Every week we're always really closely monitoring you guys, making sure that what you're doing is enjoyable for you, is getting you a fantastic result. If something's not working, if something needs to change, we will be the guidance on that and we can help you to make those changes so you keep on staying really happy and getting an amazing transformation as well. That's it. That's all you need to really think about. And the final thing I want to say here really is why this knowledge matters long term. We've talked about this a bit, but understanding your calories and your macros and doing that groundwork to get that education means you do not have to be reliant on a meal plan forever. Yay, fantastic. You can adapt when life changes. Life always changes. I know how busy all of you guys are. You don't panic when your progress slows down because you've got a system that you can stick to that you know that works, and you stay in control long term. And this is a skill for life, and knowledge is power. I personally think that there is nothing more empowering than feeling like you are totally in control of your diet. Food doesn't control you anymore. You control your diet. You can eat exactly what you want, and you feel totally, totally at one with that and in control. I personally think that is one of the most empowering things that you can have, and that's why we do this. My final thought for you guys, you do not need rigid plans. Rigid plans do not work. You do not have to eat the same boring meals forever. But calories and protein for you now will do the heavy lifting and will get you to your goal and where you need to be. Everything else can be fairly flexible, take it in your stride. And the final thing that I want to do is just remind you guys that we are here to help you every single step of the way when you need it. If you come away from this call and you still have some questions, you're unsure about things, reach out to myself or reach out to Adam and ask some questions about this. Ask what we can do for you specifically to help you out. You are not alone in this journey anymore. Like, you guys are part of a wonderful community, and you've got me and Adam to guide you, and we will help you every step of the way when you need it for this. Remove the anxiety and the stress, remove the nerves, especially if you're at the start of your journey, and just start to focus on taking one small action after this call that's to do with this. Because, like I said, it's the biggest thing that's going to move the needle forwards for you guys. But it does take time. It takes time to get the hang of it as well. So don't worry about that. Like, give yourself a bit of time to learn a new skill and to have a bit of patience. And for those of you that have been in the program for a while, like especially coming back from Christmas and New Year's, you're going to be going back into doing this skill of tracking again. So again, like, give yourselves a bit of time and give yourselves a bit of patience to get back into building that habit as well. But you can all absolutely do it. You're all totally capable and can definitely do this. That's everything I want to go through for this week. It's been really great to have so many of you on this call. And as always, I hope that this has been really helpful for you guys and it's been beneficial. I'm going to let you guys all go. Have a great rest of your evening, and I will catch you on the next call next week.